everyone. So I've been having a little bit of a kick the past, I don't know, couple of videos and live streams of feeling speaking my mind on things. And I see no reason to stop now. Especially since I was sent this very interesting, I guess maybe opinion article or whatever. But the reason why I was sent this is because, well, throughout the article, Cheshire Mania are ridiculed by the author, and I don't who is the author anyways. Who is the author? The writer Rob Henderson. Oh no, that's not the author. Just says Adlington43.com. What about at the bottom? Is there a name at the bottom? Oh, John Hamill. Okay. Okay, again, that makes sense because it's his tweets that are featured too throughout this, and he ridicules Cheshire Mania throughout all this. So, for that reason, I'm gonna just go ahead and give my opinion on this. Now, I really kind of refrain from talking much about this subject because, well, I think that my stance on the entirety of it will differ somewhat from my colleagues, and that's okay. I don't care that it does that. But it wasn't really an argument or fight I care to have because I don't have a dog in this fight. So it's, kind of like pick your battle sort of thing, so I picked to not have this battle. But I'm going to throw my hat in the ring now. And I know my colleagues are good people and they'll fully understand my disagreeing with them on some things, not on all things. But okay, so the subject here is about transgenderism in regards to it, being allowed in sports, women's spaces, the whole nine yards, basically. So I'm going to start with the whole recognizing people who wish to be identified as transgender, people who are born male who wish to be recognized as born female, and people who are born female who wish to be recognized as now male. Now, here, answer me this though first. Why is it that we never hear news stories or articles about a girl transitioning to male, wanting to change or use any of the male spaces, like in schools, for example? Why don't we ever hear about that? Why is it only those who are transitioning to be female that we are hearing about this from? And I have an opinion on that. So I'm going to start there. And I think it's by and large a whole threat thing. So like men who are transitioning to women, they become more of a target for straight men, more or less. Not all straight men, but a bit more of a target for some straight men, especially those who are a bit insecure with their own, masculinity or whatever. But and those females transitioning into male men, well, there also would be a target of straight men in the locker room. So that's why I'm thinking we don't hear about those stories. But here's the thing though, even those who are born male transitioning to female can still be a threat to those born female. That's the problem. So, here's the thing. If somebody wants to be viewed or recognized or treated or addressed as the other gender, then they should be. Absolutely. Those around them should respect that choice and should respect the pronouns and etc. Okay? That being said, those who were born male and transitioning to female, well, they want to be treated as women, correct? Well, here's their first lesson in being treated as female. Your wants and desires are not going to come ahead of the comfortability of those around you. That's like the main thing that females have instilled in them from birth on up. Like every age group has that belief, has that fundamental behavior instilled in them. So here you go. Welcome to womanhood, I guess. And I hate to sound dismissive about that. I'm not trying to be, but there's some truth to it. There's a lot of truth to it because women hear the word no a hell of a lot more than men do. So if you are transitioning to female and you are still not expecting to hear the word no, or you're expecting to hear and be allowed to do whatever you want, well, then you are still living with your male privilege. And well, that's something you're going to have to learn to let go of if you want to truly be viewed as female. You're not going to have male privilege anymore. And this is a good first lesson, I think. And I don't want to sound dismissive because I can't imagine what it's like to be living in the wrong gender of my body, okay? The only thing I can really compare it to, and this is a very like, I don't know, vapid comparison really, is that I feel like I was born to be 6 feet tall. Well, my body disagreed with me at 5'3". But, and I'm not kidding about this. Like, I really, this is something, if I could have one wish in the world, it would be that I was at least 5'11". Okay. Because I see like women who are that tall, who just walk through a crowd of people, the crowd parts for them. Like, that's power. And they don't even realize it. They just think that that's normal. At least that's what it looks like. Where me, on the other hand, I walk through Walmart and I get kicked in the shins. So I would love to be 6 feet tall, but no matter what, I'm never going to be 6 feet tall. I'm not going to be. And sadly, no matter how bad someone wants to be a different gender, you're not going to entirely be a different gender. You can be treated and live life as that gender. But that's about it. And here's the thing. When it comes to things like sports, like on the high school and collegiate level, now I know that there's an activist by the name of Riley Gaines who speaks out in favor of keeping women's sports just, for women. There's a lot of rhetoric though that she puts out there that I really don't agree with, but that is the one thing I do agree with her on, and especially at the high school and collegiate level. Okay, above and beyond that, like at the Olympic level or something, I don't think the same rules should apply as I'm going to suggest here for the lower levels. So, like, all right, a male transitioning to female at high school or younger age like that. Well, if they were to play a male sport, they may be lacking quite a bit in that sport. But if they were to then play a female sport at those ages, they're going to be quicker, like very likely quicker, stronger, more powerful. Okay. And that's a problem. When you get up into like the Olympic levels, though, I really feel like the amount of time and training and effort it's a lifetime of work basically that's gone into this. I feel like the women who make it to the Olympic level in most any sports, they can more than hold their own, I think. That's my opinion. But I'm not committed to that opinion when it comes to that. But I am committed to my opinion when it comes to high school and college. So yeah, those I believe should stay female. And the thing is that it's not fair to women to lose out on opportunities because men want to have their way. And I know that sounds maybe heartless or whatever, but the thing is like when it comes to the women's spaces, like locker rooms or changing rooms or whatever, so long as there's one female-born person there who is uncomfortable with that, it can't exist. Because safety and security should be first and foremost. Now, that doesn't mean that the trans women need to then be forced or made to go change in the male changing rooms or whatever. No, of course not. Because like I said, safety and security should come first. And they may not feel safety or security in doing that. So that's not the answer. But there needs to be a third concession made somehow, some way, where safety and security is protected for all those involved. That's just the way it has to be. Now, I also really and truly do believe that those who are transitioning are not likely doing it just to get into the women's locker room or whatever. That's a bunch of bullshit. I mean, when you think about what goes into transitioning, the medication that's taken, the behavioral change, the image presented to society and the way society will then view them. I mean, That's a lot of fucking effort and shit to go through just to maybe hopefully see a chick in her underwear. Okay. It's just not, that's not reasonable. It's not. So that's not why any trans women are doing this shit. That's the most ridiculous thing I ever heard. Prisons though, that's another story. I would absolutely not put it past some grown-ass men facing a long prison sentence to not want to go into the male prison part of the jail and would then fake or lie or whatever to get into the female part. And that's not going to be safe for the female prisoners. And just because they committed crimes means it doesn't mean that they're not entitled to being safe while they're paying their penance or punishment or whatever. So trans women, I don't think should be housed with women. I don't think they should be housed with men though either, because the safety and security aspect is still there. I don't know what the answer is. There has to be, yet again, be a third concession offered, I think. And as far as minors having access to procedures or medications or whatever to medically begin and go about their transitioning, well, minors can't get tattoos without parental approval. So they shouldn't be able to get tits or dicks either, in my opinion. So, and I realize that the problem isn't just that minors are getting this without parental approval. I realize that the problem is also minors getting this with the parental approval, in which case I don't feel I have a right to speak on that because I'm not transgendered. I'm not transgendered at any age, let alone a young age where I had the best chance of living my life passably and believably as the gender I felt meant to be. So I don't feel I should be able to make that decision. That I think should be by and large left up to the transgendered community. I do think though that should it be allowed for minors that yes, it has to have parental approval and should also pass some other like mandatory board or something of like a medical advisory board and a psychology advisory board or whatever. And I don't think it's a decision that should be made flippantly, obviously. But so long as that's in place, I don't feel like I have any other right to really comment much on that because I don't have a dog in this fight. I don't have any right to tell people what they should or shouldn't be allowed to do with something so serious and so detrimental as self-identity, self-esteem, self-confidence, all of that. I don't get to decide that. I shouldn't get to decide that. And no one else should get to decide that either, other than those who are affected by such things. Now, I'm going through this article I was sent, and here, I'm going to go ahead and share this. There's this tweet here in the article with Manya. I don't even know what the hell she's talking about. Wait, did I miss something up here maybe? Oh, okay, here it is. I can't think of anything better than for these two to be confronted by their own claims applying to themselves. I suspect one shower with a male in a woman's prison would be food for thought. Okay. I do believe that there's some truth to that. I think that people who speak a certain opinion, if put in a position to be faced with the thing that they're speaking on, they may feel differently. So if they find themselves in a public showering area with a male showering there too, they may feel differently. They may suddenly realize, shit, I don't like how this feels. Maybe I'm wrong on my initial stance. Maybe I should rethink this. I can agree with that, sure. But that's not how Manya took that shit. It's fucking crazy. Manya says, so you will continue to defend your buddy who wants us to get assaulted. Will you call them out? No? Then fuck off, John. Your incompetence and inhumanity are not our problems. And stop projecting your views of what you think we think on us. Just fuck off, you disgusting piece of shit. What? So John says, I'm not here to carry your water. If you want to call someone out, do it yourself. I'm accountable for what I have said and nothing else. I'm not projecting either. I'm commenting on your stated views, such that the unnecessary sterilization of kids is, quote, not the end of the world. That's a fucked up thing to say. But here's the thing. We'll go on to the next one, I think. Yes. So Mani says, you are disgusting, John. You wanted me to get SA'd. I'm a victim of child SA stale. She dropped that. She trauma dumped that shit on me before too. Yeah. John says, I'm arguing that no woman in prison should ever be required to be in the presence of a trans-identified male offender. You are arguing for a luxury belief that would require many other women to be in exactly that position. And that is so true. And here's the thing. The argument that his buddy there made in no way, shape, or form suggested or even insinuated or wished or hoped or whatever, anything happening to Mania or Cheshire. It just said, should they find themselves showering next to a male or near a male in a public space with a male, showering with a male. That's all it said. That's it. She took that, though, to mean, oh my God, they want to see me have to shower with a male. Therefore, they want to see me assaulted or whatever. But yes, she's here making the argument that that's exactly what should be allowed to happen. Not the assault part, but the showering part should be allowed to happen in prisons or whatever. Well, if her first thought is, if she's there stuck showering with a male, if her first thought that what could possibly or is wanting or talked about happening to her is an SA, well, then why the fuck wouldn't that be the case for anyone else finding themselves in that position? And why the fuck are you arguing for that? You don't get to have it both ways. You know, it's not like suddenly, oh my God, that's a horrible thing. It should never happen when it involves you. But when it involves other people, no, yeah, it's fine. And fuck you for not believing so. Jesus Christ. Just because we disagree, you want to see me get hard because that's what will happen to me according to your filthy mind and rhetoric. No one said that. No one said that. They said that the possibility is there. And in a situation like prison, yeah, I'd say that the probability goes up quite a bit as opposed to, I don't know, at a gym or something. And here we have the two biggest exploiter of actual social issues that affect actual people other than them. Cheshire says, it would be one thing if they were talking about their fantasies about assaulting us in private. They're doing this out in the open to us. That would be TO for to us. And trying to make it our problem. They're proud of it. Fucking heck. Mani says, and where have we encountered this pattern before? Individuals like John and his equally contemptible counterpart exemplify the worst kind of hypocrisy. The moment women challenge their views, their response is to retort to vile threats and wishes of harm. Why you gotta fucking pull the gender shit like that? Why you gotta fucking say the women, the second women challenge their view? Why are you making it about fucking sex like that? Why are you playing the sex card? Why are you exploiting the fuck out of that? Because you're trying to say, you're not arguing something as a woman, okay? And then get to have to say, oh, it's just because we did it as a woman. The whole fucking argument is based on sex. Of course you're arguing as a woman. No one is taking like a personal slight to that when there is, in fact, the actual argument is the difference in genders. What the fuck, Manya? Come on. But you want to be seen as a non-gendered person in this argument as you argue as a gender? Come on. To be explicitly clear, John and his friend here, and anyone else making statements like this, imagining women who disagree with them in situations where they're being argued and assaulted, are would-be assaulters. Situations where they're being argued and assaulted are would-be assaulters and ours. So Cheshire is saying that anyone who points out that women in these positions, like say in a jail or prison rather, run the risk of being assaulted or hard. Anyone who says that or thinks that, they themselves are and assaulters. What the fuck, Cheshire? Like, learn to fucking make an argument and stand on merit. Why do you gotta fucking try and like pull from here and there and everything and be like, well, I can't win by my argument, so I'm just going to try and discredit the fuck out of them, even if it's bullshit and just crazy and obnoxious. Jesus. How to tell me you're weak without telling me you're weak. Manya then says, he insists that women are at risk of assault in a particular situation, yet he and his ally actively seek to place us in that very situation. Actively seeking to place you would be trying to frame you for crimes, to have you convicted and then put in prison, and then having to find yourself in the shower with a person who was born male. They would be actively trying to seek you into that position. Someone saying, I bet that they would feel differently if they did find themselves in that position and finding themselves in a shower with a man. I bet they would then really shit. This doesn't feel right. That's not actively trying to seek you in that place, okay? That's making an argument. I know. You can't really fucking deal with anyone making an argument against you or to you or whatever, because you just, well, you crumble. I get that, but just try hard, okay? Don't be weak like Cheshire. I want to read some of what John Hamill here said. So this article goes on to talk about luxury belief, and I'm not sure I'm completely sold on the concept of luxury belief. I mean, I do think it's a thing, but not to the point in which is being discussed here. Like, for example, not that part, right here. He says he was referring to views that a person can promote to acquire status within their own in-group, which are in practice detrimental to less fortunate groups. Example of a luxury belief was advocacy for defunding the police. This was a view that was often promoted by more affluent people with left-wing politics who were unlikely to be directly impacted themselves by a reduction in the capacity of the police. Here's the thing, though. Defunding the police wasn't about lessening or reducing their capacity. It was about changing their capacity. I think people still fully support there being law and order, and that there should be a group of people who have to meet certain requirements and pass certain tests and whatnot to be put in that position. I do think that there should be some changes made to such things or whatever. But beyond that, though, I think that police, with defunding the police, means let's defund the police doing this fucked up shit that they're doing, and instead take that money and allocate it over here to better equipped police to handle things in a more de-escalating kind of way. That's what defunding at least that's how I took it to mean. So, and now I don't think that that's a luxury belief that would be more likely to directly impact less fortunate groups. I think that such things put into place would actually be beneficial to less fortunate groups and to all groups really across the board. But that's my opinion. I don't know. But it goes on to say here, many people have argued that transgender self-identification is another example of a luxury belief. Those with far-left political views can seek reputational advantage within their own woke in-group by arguing that anyone who merely identifies themselves as a woman must immediately be considered to be a woman. And I do agree with that. I think that anyone who wants to consider themselves as a woman should be considered as a woman. Sure, that's not hurting anyone. But that doesn't come with all privileges across the board. There has to be the safety and security of all those involved considered. However, less fortunate women often suffer the consequences of these ideas. I would argue that it's not just less fortunate women. It would be women across the board who may suffer. For example, women who are, For example, women who are incarcerated are entitled to expect that they will be housed within female-only prisons. Against that, policies allowing for transgender self-identification facilitate male sex offenders in being locked up with women where they can carry out further assaults. That is, those promoting transgender self-identification have the luxury of doing so merely to benefit their own reputation within a far-left clique, while others suffer the practical consequences of their position. In that situation of like a prison, sure, I agree with that. But yeah, on a side note though, I would sure hate, I don't know, you think about it, the trans female that's in a woman's prison who does succeed in carrying out an assault on one of the prisoners. I'm not so sure I want to be that prisoner after that, housed with all of those potential victims, and those potential victims realizing that they are in fact potential victims, some of them in there for violent crimes. I'm not liking the odds for that trans female prisoner after that. It doesn't excuse or allow for an assault to just be ignored or whatever. The assault should be avoided at all costs beforehand. Absolutely. I just thought of that and I just wanted to share it, I guess. It makes me smile though. It relates to female athletes who are confronted with male sporting competitors. In almost all circumstances, when women are asked to compete physically against men, it is unsafe or unfair. Both. I agree with that. Yes, on a high school and collegiate level, absolutely. I think I'm not so sure how strong of an argument that carries on into like the Olympic arena, but it's just because I'm not really sure. Oh, what is that? Let's check that shit out. For completeness, here is the statement referred to in my tweet.
Transgender individuals who undergo gender-affirming medical or surgical therapies are at risk for infertility, suppression of puberty with gonadotropin-releasing hormone agonist analogs in the pediatric transgender patient. Pediatric, sorry, my bad. Now I can't read.
It's harder than it seems.
Man, it's my false dentures. That's also causing the problem. Can pause a maturation of germ cells and thus affect fertility potential. Testosterone therapy in transgender men can suppress ovulation and alter ovarian histology, while estrogen therapy in transgender women can lead to impaired spermatogenesis and testicular atrophy. The effect of hormone therapy on fertility is surgery that includes hysterectomy and oophorectomy. Of course it does. It is recommended that clinicians patients on fertility pure eggs, freezing your eggs or your sperm,
deciding if you even want to have kids.
Bank. Yeah. Oh, you mean there are
deciding to hold off, deciding to hold off on that portion of transitioning until after the fact?
Yep. It's like as if it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, look, cryopreservation.
You know, yeah, the next line. It's as if adoption is an option.
All right, this is something where I mean, I don't, to my knowledge, Bonnie doesn't have kids, so I can't really fault her for taking that view. I probably would too if I didn't have kids. And it's not that it's a wrong view to have, but if you have kids, then you realize it's the wrong view to have. People, the desire to have one's own kids is, I think that's a right to each of us as humans if our bodies allow for it. And I think it's a big deal if that is ignored or overlooked in quest of something else, because that's something that for the overwhelming majority of humans will absolutely come back and be a factor later on in life, if not very soon thereafter. Sure, adoption is a wonderful and terrific thing, and God bless anyone who does it, but I'm not going to fault anyone who chooses to have their own children instead of adopt, because I feel like that's just like our human right if we so choose it. And chances are we're going to choose it at some point, and that's okay. I don't know. I would never ever want to argue in support of that not being considered or not being something to consider at some point for any person. That's just crazy. Holy shit. Anyway, another related term that is relevant to the same far left woke mindset is the quote oppression Olympics. Once this group decided that possessing quote lived experience on any given topic would give someone the authority to pronounce truth on that subject, they created a competition whereby they each sought to achieve the greatest victimhood. This inevitably created behavior such as that famously associated with Jesse Smollett and Amber Heard, and many others who faked victimhood by inventing false stories. Their desire to be the victim of some transgression, which they perceived would give them a moral and epistemological high ground, was sufficient motivation for them to manufacture their own fake victimization that never actually occurred. Perhaps unsurprisingly, the response to highlighting the quote luxury beliefs described in the video clip above was for the victim mindset to fabricate false stories so absurd that they would embarrass even Smollett and Heard. This began with the utterly ludicrous inference that my quote hashtag luxury beliefs tweet demonstrated that I wanted the people in the video clip above to be hard. The only evidence for my supposed wishes in this regard was my quote hashtag luxury beliefs tweet itself. Of course, it is entirely absurd to conclude from this tweet that I wanted anyone to be hard. The idea that I wanted anyone to be hard is a scurrilous lie invented out of whole cloth without any basis whatsoever. However, those who made the video clip above went on to hysterically manufacture several even more preposterous lies. This included the idea that I was fantasizing about being the person who would actually commit the imagined essays, that I was making a threat to commit this particular concocted crime, and that I was actively seeking to place specific people in a situation where those individuals would suffer this pretend outcome. The only basis for any of this was my quote hashtag luxury beliefs tweet, from which my antagonists concluded that they were the actual victims of all the storybook crimes listed above. Needless to say, this is all pure fiction that belongs in the same category as using makeup to create fake bruises. You hear that, Cheshimania? You're Amber Heard. Way to go. Way to fucking go. Similarly, transparently false allegations of the sort illustrated above can no longer be given credibility with a formerly popular slogan like, quote, believe all women. You guys are fucking it up for women victims. Way to go. Whatever the reasons were, so many people losing their minds in this way during the Great Awakening, the pendulum appears to be swinging back toward the center now. The luxury beliefs and victim mentality of woke lunatics can no longer summon an angry mob, but can now only summon a collective audible sigh with an ostentatious eye roll. That is a superb ending. Like chef's kiss, dude. Wow. Fuck yeah. All right. How are there no comments on this? I'm going to be linking this in the description, obviously. And I really encourage anyone and everyone else to read the entirety of this article. And I have to say, was it John Hamill? Yes, I have to say, John Hamill. You picked two of the most perfect examples of your arguments here, because there is nobody more exploitative than these two. There's nobody more full of shit than these two. There's nobody who enjoys weaponizing actual trauma that actual victims go through simply because they can't make a fucking argument on their own merit, on their own anything. They need to resort to such underhanded, disgusting tactics such as this to save whatever face they have. you picked the two perfect examples of all that. Awesome. So, all right, on that note, thank you everyone for watching. And for those who didn't, fuck you. I'm kidding. Thank you. Have a good day, y'all. Bye. Okay, now it's time for member shoutouts. I'd like to thank Taboo Topics, Leah, DC, Tammy Sue, Shield, Shannon Collier, Christine Fortunato, Vivian Gallegos, Susie J. Channel has been deleted. Jill B, Heather, Mama 5, Fayette, Sally Godfrey, Cheryl, Mr. Blackwolf, Miranda Smith, Estelle Havisham, Queen Donnie, Tequila Alive in Mexico, Rena Rue, Nana Hot, Sean Coffey, Sakara Bear, Sassy Elmo, Flying Mom Laura, Berber, Berillion, Purple Dragon Shill, I'm fucking Reagan, Osbell, Sunny D, Jen Gerard, Poodlerific. Thank you very much for joining. Thank you everyone for watching.